The war room was silent. No one dared to speak. No one blinked. Alien generals stood around a circular table, eyes locked on the floating hologram above them. Red markers blinked furiously on the galactic map. Each red dot meant one thing. Destruction Commander. Velik, the oldest of them, finally spoke. This cannot be real. The numbers on the screen showed it clearly. Over 9,000 troops wiped out. 17 tanks destroyed, 4 airships lost, all within 6 minutes. The outpost hadn't even sent a full distress call. The last thing they transmitted was static. General Koth stepped forward and tapped the screen. The sensors say it was a strike team, he said. What? But the signature isn't right. There's no chatter, no radio, no noise. Just one strange energy pulse. How many attackers? Asked Velik. Koth hesitated. That's the strange part, sir. The system marked it as ... 1. The room exploded in confusion. 1. That's a glitch. No weapon could. Was it a new Earth bomb? Velik raised his hand. Silence returned. Play the footage, he ordered. The screen flickered, then showed grainy, shaky security cam footage. A guard stood outside a steel gate. Wind howled across the dust plains. Then the image froze. A blur entered the frame, moving fast. The guard turned. Too late. The blur, now seen more clearly, was a girl. Young, human, no armor. Just a simple gray hoodie and black boots. Her eyes glowed silver for a second. Then the feed went black. They switched to another camera. The girl was inside now, walking through fire. Bodies lay behind her. None had burn marks. No wounds, just collapsed, eyes open in shock. She didn't even touch them, Koth whispered. On the final clip, she stood atop the command tower. Around her, alarms blared, smoke rising. She looked straight into the camera. Her voice cut through the speakers. You tried to erase us. I erased your plan. The message ended. The room sat frozen. Is this a weapon? One general asked. A clone? A new Terran soldier? No, Velik said slowly. Checker. DNA. A long pause. Then a beep. Result. Human, female. Age 17. No enhancements detected. The investigation begins 3 days later. Secret task force was formed. Codenamed Ghost Trace. Their goal. Find the girl. But nothing made sense. No satellites saw her arrive. No ship entered the system. No footprints led in or out. She simply appeared, destroyed a fortress, and vanished. Velik sat alone in his chamber, watching the footage again, rewinding, zooming in. He froze it on her face. She looked. Calm, not angry, not wild. Calm like this was routine. 17 years old, he muttered. Across the galaxy, alien data hubs spun at full power. Supercomputers searched every database. They looked through refugee records, military files, even school logs. At last they found something. A blurry photo from 5 years ago, taken on a dying Earth colony. In the background, the same girl. She stood in a line of starving refugees, a scarf over her mouth, eyes half closed. Nothing stood out, but the man next to her, he wasn't breathing. He stood like a statue, eyes wide in terror. The photo had been dismissed as a glitch. Until now, Planet Tarnus Aftermath, Site Special Agent Rolla arrived at the ruined outpost where the girl had attacked. Everything was quiet now, too quiet. He walked through the wreckage. Not a single weapon had been fired. The soldiers died with hands still on their rifles. He found the control room, carved into the wall. Burned by something hotter than plasma was a single sentence. I warned you. His blood turned cold. Alien Council meeting. Panic begins. Week later, Velik stood before the High Alien Council. She's not part of a known army, he said. Then what is she? One council member asked. Vel showed the footage again. I believe she's a product of Earth's last mistake. Murmurs spread through the room, he continued. They experimented on children. We knew this. But someone must have survived the purges. Counselor Drax slammed a fist down. Earth is broken. They don't have the tech. This must be an illusion. Velik didn't flinch. Would you like to test that theory, counselor? No one spoke. Then Velik pointed to the stats again. Do these look like illusions to you? She didn't cause fear. She ended it. These weren't soldiers. They died before they could scream. Unknown ship, somewhere in deep space, the girl sat alone in a small vessel. No buttons, no lights. Just her and the stars. She closed her eyes, whispering to herself. They lied. They took everything now. I returned the favor. Her hand hovered. Over a console, it glowed under her touch. Coordinates shifted. Next target. Outpost Kalinex, a weapons testing base. She stood slowly, voice soft. One more. Velik's secret Vic watched the growing list of destroyed bases. Outposts, Kalinex, Drea 4, and Fort Shan. AK-gone. No survivors, no alarms. Just one girl, leaving behind wreckage and warnings. But Velik hadn't told the council one thing. He'd seen her before. Not in person. But in a dream, a vision. A flash from a weapon Earth once tested Project Iris. The weapon never launched. Never needed to, because the test showed a face. Her face and a whisper in his mind. Stop, or I'll start.
That was 10 years ago. He
Ignored the warning now. She had started. The alien council gathers again. Fear fills their eyes now. She's not human, someone says. She's not a soldier. Says another. Vel stands slowly. No, he says. She is worse. The screen lights up again. The girl's face appears. She speaks with perfect calm. You thought the stats represented a nation? Her eyes glow faintly, but that was just me. The message ends, and across the galaxy, panic begins. The blackout lasted for 3 hours. No one knew why. No storm, no enemy attack, just sudden complete darkness across the entire sector. It was supposed to be a quiet colony Earth Base 17, hidden beneath the mountains of a frozen planet, a secret bunker where scientists worked on dangerous projects far from the eyes of the galaxy. But that night, something else happened, and everything changed. Hook the birth that broke the light steer. Sierra Wynn ran through the flickering halls, holding her swollen belly. She was in labor. Early. We need help, shouted the nurse behind her. But there was no help. The power was out. The emergency bots were offline. Life support was failing. Something was wrong with the baby. Sierra screamed as the lights above her shattered one by one. They didn't just blink, they exploded. By the time they reached the medical room, only one dim light remained. The baby was coming. No time, the nurse said. Push. And then, just as Sierra gave her final cry, the entire base went silent. All systems died. Blackness swallowed the room, but then a hum, soft, low, electric. The machines turned back on. Slowly, lights flickered, then glowed. Doors sealed. Oxygen returned, and in the nurse's arms was the child. The baby didn't cry. She simply opened her eyes, silver and glowing. The nurse stared. Frozen, she did that, she whispered. Hidden. In shadows, the girl was never registered in official records. No name. No birth ID. No trace. They gave her a nickname, Ira. It meant storm in an old Earth language. She didn't speak until she was 5. She didn't smile. She didn't cry, but she could move things without touching them. A spoon, a chair, a full med dashbot. The scientists called it energy projection. The soldiers called it something else. Fear, because Ira could stop a bullet mid-air. She could make metal scream. She once stared at a screen until it cracked. She's not right, one soldier whispered. She's not human. But the old man who trained her, the ex-commander named Kane, disagreed. She's what we made her, he said. She's what they made us need. A world without childhood. There were no toys in Ira's room. Weapons. Small ones. Safe-looking ones. But all designed to teach. From age 6, she trained with targets at 7. She disarmed a live grenade without touching it, At 8, she was placed in a simulation with enemy drones. She destroyed them in 23 seconds, the AI watching. Her began to lag. She's too fast, it reported, too quiet. No pattern. By age 9, she stopped sleeping. Her eyes would glow at night. Her breath slowed. But her mind stayed awake. They hooked her to monitors. Brain activity, 237% above human average. Heart rate, calm. One scientist asked her, "Do you ever get scared?" Mara just tilted her head. I am fear. The assassin drone, it happened. When she was 10, a new staff member joined the base. He smiled too much. His voice was too smooth. He brought her gifts, shiny bracelet, music cube. Ira didn't like him. One night, she sat alone in the gym, playing with the cube. The lights flickered again. She turned. The man stood in the doorway. But something had changed. His eyes glowed red. His arms shifted. Metal. A weapon. Assassin. Drone. He fired, but the bolt stopped in the air, frozen. Ira raised her hand slowly. The drone screamed as his body twisted in midair. Every wire inside him caught fire. He collapsed, hissing smoke. She didn't even blink. She vanished at 12, when Ira turned 12. Something changed. She stopped speaking during training. She stopped eating. Her body began to glow faintly at night. She would sit alone, staring at the stars through the ceiling glass. One night, Kane visited her room. "You're not a child anymore," he said softly. "I never was," she replied. He nodded. "You're ready?" She stood up. No bag, no supplies, just herself. Kane opened the blast door. Wind howled outside. The ice plains stretched for miles. "You'll be hunted," he warned. "I know," she said. "They'll fear you." "They already do." She walked out. The door closed behind her. She left no footprints, and from that night on, no one ever saw her again, until the attack on Outpost Svarn. The girl behind the numbers Velik stood in front of a private screen, reading everything they had found. A nameless child, born during a blackout, never registered. A ghost in the system. He stared at the still frame from the security footage again. The same girl, just older, taller, but her face still calm. She was born without records, he said. Trained in shadows, created to fight what we didn't understand. He turned to his officers. "And now she fights us," junior officer whispered. "But, sir, why now? Why attack?" Velik thought for a long time. Then he said, "Because I think she's punishing us for something we did, something we tried to do." Flashback. The silent meeting 10 years ago, before Earth collapsed. A secret meeting took place among the galactic powers. The Terran scientists had developed a child with unstable power. They offered to shut the project down if they were left alone. The aliens refused. They sent strike teams. The lab went dark. Everyone thought child was dead. They were wrong. She survived. And now she remembers, on a burning wall of a second destroyed base. Words were carved into metal, not with tools, but by heat and pressure. The message was simple. "I was born in your fear. Now I return it." Velik stared at the image. He felt cold. "She's not just a weapon," he whispered. "She's a memory. And memories don't die easily." They expected a war, but all they found was silence. The battlecruiser, Trelos 5, arrived at the asteroid belt 2 hours after receiving a distress signal from a pirate fleet. A dozen ships had called for backup, screaming about a ghost. A storm, a girl with no face. 8. Then silence. No more signals. Captain Jarn stepped onto the bridge of the lead pirate ship. What he saw chilled his bones. No signs of a fight, no burned walls, no plasma scars. Just floating bodies, eyes wide open, not injured, just gone. It's frozen in place. Every weapon was still holstered, every door still locked. No sign of struggle, and on the command deck, written on the main screen in blood-red font, "Don't take what isn't yours." The pirates had taken refugees 3 weeks earlier. A known pirate syndicate called the Iron Maw raided an old Terran space station. It was supposed to be abandoned, but it wasn't. They found survivors, human refugees, weak, sick, starving. Women, children, elders. Instead of helping them, the pirates did what pirates always did. They took them as slaves, as products. They didn't expect resistance. The humans begged, cried. Some fought back but were shot. Then one of the pirates, Drell, noticed a girl in the corner of a cage, young still. Silent, she said nothing. He laughed and called her Ghost Girl. They shouldn't have touched Heron the third day aboard the ship. Something strange happened. The lights in the prisoner hold went out for 3 seconds. When they came back on, the guard was missing. The others were asleep except for the girl. She stood at the bars of the cell, eyes open, glowing silver. She didn't speak. The next day another guard disappeared. This time a trail of blood led up the wall and vanished. The pirates panicked. They searched the ship. They found nothing. The girl didn't run. She stayed with the others. Silent, still. The other prisoners began whispering her name, the Ghost. The night the ship did on the 7th day, alarms rang through the fleet. A power surge struck every ship at once. Shields failed, engines glitched, lights dimmed, and then, as the storm began, doors opened and closed on their own. Cameras blacked. Out. Guns fired without anyone pulling the trigger. One pirate opened a storage room and found 20 crew members inside, all dead. No wounds. Frozen in place. Eyes wide in terror, another tried to flee in a small escape pod he launched. Seconds later, the pod turned. Madarin exploded. From outside the fleet, sensors picked up an energy pulse, one that didn't match any known weapon, in the heart of the main ship. Someone finally made it to the prisoner bay. All cages were open. The humans were gone, except one. The girl stood alone, staring at the walls, her hair floating as if underwater. She turned around and whispered, "You stole lives." I returned silence. Then she vanished. The survivors tell their story only. 2 pirates survived. One was Drell, the same man who had mocked her. He was found drifting in a damaged escape module. His body shaking, his voice broken. They took him to a med-dash station. When he woke up, he screamed and tried to claw out his eyes. "She walked through the walls," he cried. "She breathed in fire. I shot her, I swear, I shot her." "Was she?" Drell looked up with wide, broken eyes. "She wasn't a girl," he whispered. "She was the storm we deserve. The girl returns the refugees in. Old Terran cargo freighter, abandoned for years. Suddenly came back online one morning. It drifted slowly toward a neutral medical station, beacon lights flashing. Inside were 57 refugees, all alive, all untouched. The med team rushed in, shocked. No one knew how the freighter had activated itself. There was no pilot. Only one message blinked on the ships. Main console, they were taken. I took them back. Velik analyzes the attack back on the alien capital world. Commander Velik watched. The report's another attack, another mystery. No explosions, no army, just her. She had targeted a pirate fleet, not soldiers, not military outposts. He stared at the photos. Ships ripped apart without fire. Systems melted from inside, and the one camera still working, just one frame captured her. A blur of motion, shape walking through solid walls, energy twisting around her like lightning. "She's evolving, Velik," whispered the junior analyst. Asked, "Why didn't she kill all of them?" Velik replied coldly, "Because she's making a point. She doesn't want war." Paused. "She wants fear." Aliens begin to worry in secret meetings across the stars. The question was asked again and again. Who is she? A weapon? A ghost? One admiral suggested creating a kill team. 12 elite assassins, all trained to hunt humans. But Velik disagreed. "She's not an enemy you send troops after. She's the kind of threat you beg to ignore you." Another scientist said, "We can study her. We can trap her." Velik turned to him and said one word. "Try." Flashback, a message from the past hidden in an old Terran black box. buried deep in archives, was a forgotten message from a dying scientist. He spoke slowly, bleeding from the mouth. If this message is found, please know, she wasn't made to kill. He coughed. We tried to build peacekeepers, guardians, but they killed the others. She's the only one who survived. He looked at the camera, and now she remembers everything. The file ends. Date: 12 years ago.
Location:
Destroyed Earth Lab. Name of Project IRA Protocol. Back on the battlefield. One last ship drifted slowly through space. Burned. Empty. A pirate flag waved from a broken antenna. Suddenly, the flag caught fire on its own. It burned slowly, without flame, without oxygen. And as it burned, letters formed in space above it. Not written, not typed. Burned. Into light? You thought this was a war. It wasn't. This was a message. And then it vanished. On the desert moon of 05, the elite bounty hunter Vran was given one job: track the girl. Not capture her, not kill her. Just find her, confirm her location, report back. Easy, or so he thought. Vran had hunted star beasts. He had captured warlords. He once fought a rebel AI to a draw. He had never failed a mission. He took his best gear. It's the fastest ship, and every scanner known to science. 3 hours after landing, all communication from Vran's ship went dead. A recon drone was sent. To find him, it found only his helmet. Inside it, his eyes, still blinking. The Ghost Protocol after Vran's failure. The Galactic Command activated Ghost. Protocol, an emergency program used only when logic breaks. This wasn't a military response. It was fear. They pulled data. From every source: pirate wrecks, destroyed outposts, missing ships. They ran simulations. They asked a single question: what is she? The computers returned an answer: unknown entity, threat level, evolving, behavior pattern, ghost. Every AI refused to finish the calculations. One AI simply shut itself off and displayed a single message: she sees me. The girl leaves clues. She didn't hide anymore, not fully. She wanted them to know. At the edge of Sector 11, cargo vessel drifted off course. The crew found one message glowing in the airlock: stop taking what can't be replaced. On a distant moon, an alien mercenary woke up with a phrase burned into his wall: I saw you, spared you, don't make me return. One admiral's ship exploded. The message arrived 6 minutes later. I warned you once. You chose to test me. She wasn't running. She was teaching. The Intelligence Division begins the hunt inside the House of Minds, a powerful alien think tank. Hundreds of machines worked together to process her trail. They called her Subject E. E for event. Because that's what she was. Not a person. Phenomenon. They tracked radiation signatures, atmospheric pulses, broken tech logs. But every time they got close, the data melted. Literally, screens went blank. Servers overheated. iCores rebooted themselves. Finally, one machine connected a trail through 7 incidents. It mapped the pattern. Then it spoke in a low, synthetic voice. It whispered, you can't catch the wind. And then it died, overheated, melted from the inside. Velik watches in silence. Commander Velik stared at the new data. His face was pale, his voice flat. She's learning. Fast. Every time we track her, she breaks the method. He walked to the glass wall and stared at the stars. Every time we watch her, she's already watching us, the general shouted. She's just a human girl. Velik turned. No, he said. She's what happens when humans are cornered, pushed, broken, rebuilt in silence. She's not a mistake. She's a message. Live transmission. Her voice returns then. For the first time in galactic history. The girl made live contact. A single message hijacked every major military frequency across 12 planets. The screen went black then. Her face appeared. No weapons, no mask. Just her. Calm, cold, watching. She spoke 3 words. You are not ready. Then Then the screen jucked her, face warped into static. Then came one final phrase, typed into every system. Your intelligence. Calls me a ghost. Good. Ghosts don't knock. They enter. The boy who survived somewhere on the mining colony of Retinine, child sat alone in a refugee shelter. He once saw her. He remembered her. 3 years ago his family was trapped. During a pirate raid, his parents were killed. He was taken, but a girl came in the night, just her, no army. He never saw her touch a weapon, but when she left, every pirate was gone. The boy was free. She said only one thing to him. Survive. One day they'll ask. You what I looked like. Now he tells the story again and again. They call him a liar, but deep inside, he knows she's still watching. Alien command begins to fracture. The pressure grows. Systems panic. Leaders argue. Build a weapon. Track her family. Attack Earth. But none of it works. One scientist reveals a terrifying truth. We don't know where she came from, because Earth might not be her only origin. The room goes silent. What do you mean? She was born human. But now, something else is in her. Something old. Something we can't explain, Bellic whispers. Then we should stop trying to explain her and start learning how to survive her. A new target appears suddenly. Without warning, the girl appears on a civilian planet. Not a base, not a fleet, a marketplace. She walks calmly through the crowd. No weapon, no fear. People part for her as if guided by instinct. She enters a building. 10 minutes later, she exits. Nothing appears wrong, but hours later, a Black Ops lab hidden beneath the city is found completely offline. All data wiped. All systems erased. Scientists asleep, untouched. On the wall, you didn't ask if I remembered. You assumed I forgot. On a top-secret ship orbiting deep space, an alien AI begins writing a report. Halfway through, the AI pauses. It detects a presence. Something. Inside its code, a soft whisper. Are you watching me? The AI responds. Who are you? No answer, just another whisper. Then watch closely, and the screen fades to black. Inside the largest AI facility in the Galaxy Core Station, Delta scientists gathered around the final war sim. This was it, their ultimate answer. The strategic war simulation. Powered by 900 linked minds and 12 AI brains, could predict the outcome of any conflict. It had never failed. From solar invasions to black hole blockades. The sim predicted every result within seconds. Now, they were using it to simulate one thing. How to defeat her. The girl. The anomaly. They entered every known detail. Her past, her tactics, her powers. They included troop strength, ships, weapons, planetary data. Then they pressed Run Simulation. The system froze after 3.4 seconds. Error. Unknown logic, Barack. The scientist tried again. This time, it made it to 12 seconds. Then the AI screamed. Literally through speakers along. Its echoing scream like metal tearing inside a mind. And the screen displayed one final message. She sees me. Then the system shut down. Burned from the inside. They tried to remove her from the sim. Panicked. The team made a decision. Remove her from the simulation.
Out.
Just test how the war would go without her. It ran perfectly, but when they added her again, even as a non-combat variable, the system collapsed. One AI mind melted. Its core physically dripped like wax. A technician whispered. She doesn't belong in the system. The lead engineer shook his head. No, the system doesn't belong in her world anymore. Velik demands an explanation, Commander, Velik stormed. Into the lab the next morning, he stared at the remains of the AI tanks. Liquid metal, fractured cores, blackened wires. She's not a god, he snapped. Explain this. The lead technician stood tall. Sir, it's not that she can't be simulated, it's that she notices when she is. Velik frowned. That's not possible. No, sir, the technician said. It wasn't, until her. They showed him one more file. From the last test right before the system collapsed, a frame was captured from inside the simulation, just one. A face. her face looking directly at the camera, smiling. Flashback the lab that tried to train her mind 12 years earlier on a hidden Earth facility. A group of psychic researchers tried to enhance the minds of gifted children. Most failed. Some went mad. Only one survived. But something strange happened in her brain scans. Whenever they tried to test her response to future-based simulations, the scan would record reverse energy flows if her mind rejected the concept of being predicted. One doctor said, "She doesn't follow timelines, she makes them." Another whispered, "She doesn't imagine the future, she chooses it." Back to the present, the simulation is no longer safe. 2 more attempts were made to simulate her. The third time, the system didn't even start. Instead, the room turned cold. Lights flickered. The wall monitors scrambled. A final phrase appeared. "On all displays, I am not a line in your code. I am the crack in your mirror." Then every screen shattered from the inside. The sim architect vanishes days later. The architect behind the war sim, Dr. Niven, was found missing. No forced entry, no signs of escape, just his boots, standing upright at the edge of his bed. And on the wall, written in floating dust, "You tried to trap me in numbers. I taught your numbers fear." No other clues. The girl strikes again without warning. The girl appeared again, this time at a secret black site on the mining planet Do, RITH-6. She didn't use weapons. She walked through walls. Every light died when she entered. She stood before their strongest defense unit, a cybernetic general designed to withstand all physical attacks. It activated. Fired 6 high-energy rounds. She raised her hand. All 6 bullets froze midair and fell. The general turned to run. She whispered, "You were built to fight shadows. I am the silence." Its core fried from the inside. She walked away. Why the AI fears Hertha, Galactic AI. Council rarely called into action met in private. They didn't speak like humans. They transmitted thoughts, data, logic, and they all agreed. She is not a variable. She is not a pattern. She is rejection. One AI suggested creating a counter-entity, a mirror, but when the prototype was activated, shut itself down before speaking. Its last output, she is already inside. The girl speaks again, this time from inside their systems across 5 star systems. Public screens glipped. Then her voice came through. .com. Measured. You build systems to control, to predict, to trap. I am not your storm. I am your lesson. She appeared for 1 second as glowing silver. Then everything returned to normal. People stood in silence. Vela has one last hope back on the command ship Idrex. Velik stared into space. His warboards meant nothing. Every plan broke down. Every tactic failed. She wasn't just ahead of them. She was inside. Every move they hadn't made yet. A message blinked on his private console. From her, "You don't lose when I arrive. You lost when you thought I wouldn't remember." Inside. Core Station Delta, where the galaxy's smartest minds once ran war simulations. The room now sits cold and silent. A final message is etched into the metal floor. Burned in soft glowing lines. No one saw who wrote it. No one knows how it appeared. It says, "You built a box for the storm, but the storm never needed doors." On a hidden moon near the galactic edge, the aliens had built their final defense. The Starforge cannon, a weapon designed to erase planets, 15 kilometers long, powered by a mini-star, protected by 3,000 elite guards, shielded by 4 defense rings and cloaked in deep space. It was never meant to be fired. Its existence alone was supposed to keep enemies afraid, but today it was going to fire. Target, Earth's last stronghold. Everything was ready. The cannon charged. Lights turned red. Energy built up, preparing to fire in 30 seconds. The system announced, then dashed silence. Every screen turned black. No blast, no power, just ... dead quiet. One engineer whispered, "What happened?" Then the lights came back. All across the control room, One phrase blinked slowly on every monitor. Try again. I dare you. No signs of attack. The guards searched every corridor. No broken doors. No signs of hacking.
Ow.
No ships entered the system. No one breached the base. And yet, the weapon core was melted, not exploded. Melted from the inside, and one wall inside the central chamber had this message, scorched into the steel: you build monsters. I break their hearts. There were no casualties, no battle, but everyone on the moon left their posts. The next day, most never came back. Velik is furious and afraid, back at High Command. Commander Velik watched the footage in silence. The system log showed a brief energy spike before the blackout. The signature matched her again. She didn't destroy it, Velik said. She walked in, shut it down, and left. But how? One officer asked. Velik didn't answer. He turned away in his mind. One thought echoed. She wanted them to see her power, not feel it yet. A hidden survivor speaks only. One officer stayed. Behind after the blackout, her name was Livna, a data technician. She was the last person to leave the core chamber. She gave her testimony in a sealed room. I didn't see anyone, she said. But I felt watched, like the air had eyes. What happened to the weapon, they asked. She looked down. Her voice cracked. I heard a voice. It was inside my head. What did it say? Livna whispered. Not yet. The super weapon. Wasn't the real target later that day? Scientists inspected the cannon's AI brain. It had been erased. Not destroyed. Wiped clean. But underneath the shell, in a hidden drive no one knew existed, they found a small message file. Just a single line of text. It's not the gun. It's the hand that dares to fire. That's when Velik realized. She wasn't just stopping weapons. She was warning them. Flashback: the weapon that made Hurtwelve years ago, before Earth fell. A weapon similar to the Starforge had been aimed at a rebel colony. Earth's leaders refused to fire, but the aliens did. They erased 2 cities and a medical research station. That station was where she had been created. She wasn't born to destroy planets. She was born from the pain of those who had to survive what the galaxy called necessary losses. Now, she had returned the message. Necessary to whom? A spy leaves a report inside the alien council. One spy planted years ago sent a hidden transmission before vanishing. She is not hunting weapons, the message said. She is hunting decisions. Leaders, triggers, lies. She, once the ones who thought power meant safety. The message ends with a chilling warning. The next system she visits won't lose its weapon. It will lose its nerve. The girl appears briefly in the outer rim of the galaxy, a neutral trade station saw a strange anomaly. A girl walked into a cafe, just walked in. No weapons, no threats. She sat down. Ordered tea. The bartender noticed her eyes. Silver, not glowing, just deep. She looked around, peaceful, calm. Then she spoke to him quietly. They built a gun to protect themselves from what they feared. But I'm not what they fear, he asked. Then what are you? She looked out the window. I'm what comes after. Then she vanished. High Command breaks the Starforge. Cannon was Earth's last fear. Now it was silent, and the galaxy knew. Had no more weapons that could scare her. No shields she couldn't enter. No rooms she couldn't reach. No minds she couldn't disturb. One general resigned. Another fled to a distant moon. A third took his own life. Because when you build the biggest gun in history and someone calmly turns it off, stop believing. In armor, weeks later, while decoding the wreckage of a long-lost satellite, Velik's team discovered a hidden signal, encrypted, deplayed, old. It decoded it. The voice was young, calm, familiar. It was her, she said. You wanted power without consequence. You built fear into metal. You taught silence to scream. Then her voice hardened. You fired at the stars and called it justice. Now I walk among the ashes, and I ask one question. Pause. Was it worth it? The message ends. In a dark room, on a warship orbiting the dead moon, Ixanine, 12 figures stood in silence. Each one was a killer. Not just trained, engineered. They were called the Ghost Circled, the most feared assassins in the galaxy. No names, no faces, no mistakes. They didn't ask why, they didn't ask who. They just received orders and vanished into the dark. This time, their mission had one target: locate and eliminate the Earthborn anomaly known as Ira. One whispered, "Child." Another replied, "No, not a child. Virus." They launched 12 shadows. Silent, invisible. No backup, because backup wouldn't help first. Contact. The soundless room the assassins found her in a ruined city on the ice planet Kovas. She was alone. Standing in the middle of a broken plaza, no weapons. Just standing there, looking up at the sky. They surrounded her, 3 above, 4 on the rooftops, 5 in the mist. They aimed. Synchronized, the leader gave the silent hand signal, execute. Then nothing happened. Weapons jammed. Systems clit. One assassin shouted in panic, "She's inside the gear." That's when they saw her move. She didn't run, she walked. And wherever she walked, their minds changed. Not broken, bended. Not a fight, a transformation one. Assassin tried to stab her. He blinked and found himself standing alone in the desert, his hand shaking, weapon gone. He looked down and saw a note in his palm. "Your brother is still alive. Ask the one who gave you this mission." Another assassin fired a neurodash blade. It passed through her body like smoke. Then the blade turned, pointed at its owner's chest. The weapon refused to fire again. The leader vanishes, the ghost circles. Leader, a killer of kings. A destroyer of rebels charged with a blade made from black star alloy. He got within 10 feet, then vanished. Gone. No sound. No light. No body. The others searched in terror, but found only his boots, perfectly placed, standing where he had last stepped, and a message carved into the snow in clean, simple lines. He's not dead. He's remembering. The survivors return, but not the same 7 assassins returned. But something was wrong. They walked differently, spoke slowly, looked around like they'd never seen the world before. One wept openly. Another handed over his weapon and said, "I was never fighting her. I was fighting my orders." Bellic interrogated them. "What did she do to you?" One simply answered, "She made us remember the people we were before we were trained to forget." Flashback, the broken children years ago. The ghost circle wasn't. 12 assassins. They were 12 children taken from colonies, minds erased, trained to kill without thought. They were taught the stars were enemies, that orders were truth, that mercy was weakness. But when they met Ira, something cracked. Not because she attacked them, because she saw them and said, "You were never meant to be weapons." Bellic demands the truth back on the command ship. Bellic faced one of the returned assassins. He shouted, "Did she brainwash you?" The assassin looked at him calmly. "No." "Then what did she do?" "She asked me a question no one ever asked." "What was it?" The assassin stood slowly and whispered, "If you had the chance to stop what broke you, would you?" Then he walked out. The rest stay silent and start to change them. 7 remaining assassins refused further. Missions, they started writing poetry, stories, names. There. Names. One started speaking a dead language from her home planet. Another adopted a child from a refugee colony. The program that made them killers collapsed within weeks. Because they weren't killers anymore. They were people again. Bellic receives a final box. A black box arrived at Bellic's private chamber. No markings. No return signal. Inside, single object. A red training coin used to condition Ghost Circle members during childhood drills. And under it, small strip of cloth, the same color as the uniform of Bellic's first command, the battalion that took the children long ago, and with it, a tiny paper folded neatly. It read, "You ordered assassins. I returned mirrors." The girl was never hiding. Galactic security agents searched for Ira after the mission. She wasn't found in shadows or bunkers. Instead, she was seen walking openly in a city on the trade moon Zero. Not running, not disguised. She wore no armor, no mask, just a soft gray robe. She sat in a park and taught 3 local children how to fold paper birds. When asked what she was doing, she smiled and said, "Undoing what fear made." One assassin never returned. Number 12. She stayed behind. Deep in the ruins, silent for weeks. She watched the stars, didn't move, didn't eat, until one night she stood, walked to the remains of a broken temple, and whispered into the night, "I remember my name now." A pause. Then she said it out. Loud, Vera. Her voice shook. Not with fear, with freedom. The Galactic War Council met for the first time in a century. 13 races. Thousands of years of violence. And for once, they all agreed on one thing. She had to be stopped. They didn't say her name. No one dared. They called her the Variable, the Ghost, the Mist. But they knew exactly who she was. She had erased fleets, disarmed planets, broken minds, and walked away. Now, face to face, they didn't want to agree. But every time they tried to say no, something broke. A server, a shield, it's a mind. So they said yes, and waited then. One quiet morning, she walked into the chamber alone. No army, no weapon, no fear, and none of them dared to speak first. A room of tyrants turned silent, though. Chamber was the most secure place in the galaxy. Armored ceilings. Psychic dampeners. Death drones in the walls. But she walked in like she was entering a garden. The guards didn't stop her. They just stood still, like statues that had forgotten their job. The Supreme Counselor stood to speak, sat back down without a word. Her presence wasn't loud. She didn't glow. She didn't threaten, but she carried something far heavier than a weapon. Truth, and everyone there felt it. She begins with a story. She walked to the center of the round chamber, looked up, and spoke. When I was a child, I watched my home burn. Didn't cry. I listened. I listened to the voices of those who said, "It's just one world." I listened to the leaders who said, "We'll offer peace after we finish the job." She looked around, and then I listened to the silence that followed. Her voice was calm, but the walls seemed to hold their breath. The accusation without a name. She didn't point fingers. She didn't scream. She just said, "You used words like safety, progress, order, but what you really wanted was control. You called it a war against chaos. But it was a war against anything you couldn't own." She paused. "You looked at humanity's numbers and feared an army." She stepped closer to the high table. "But it was just me. They offer peace, but she knows better." Finally, one counselor stood. He forced a smile. "We are prepared to negotiate peace, mutual respect, non-interference." She tilted her head. "Peace." Another added quickly, "We're open to alliance." "We understand now. You're not an enemy." She nodded slowly. "I know." The chamber seemed to relax until she spoke again. "But I'm not here for peace." They froze. "I'm here for truth, the real message." "What comes next you want?" "To make treaties now that your weapons don't work. You want balance now that your soldiers have walked away. But you offer words?" "But I've already heard your words." She raised her hand. A hologram appeared, faces of leaders, some in that room, making speeches from years ago. "Humanity's resistance is a temporary issue. We will bring order no matter the cost. They are not ready for peace." Voices stopped. She looked around. "You already had your chance. But she doesn't destroy." Them they braced, waiting for attack, waiting for power instead. Dash, she sat down, cross-dash-legged, like a child listening to a story. "I'm not here to destroy." "You," she said, "you've already done that to yourselves. I'm here to make sure no one forgets." A cure instead of a bomb. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small silver cube. "This," she said, "is a cure. A cure for the virus you created on planet Vash to weaken resistance colonies. She placed it gently on the floor. Don't want revenge. I want you to look at yourselves and decide who you really are without your armies. Then she stood, turned to the door, and paused. The final warning, she looked over her shoulder, voice soft, but sharp enough to cut stone. This time I saved you. Next time. She let the words hang in the air, then she walked away and no one followed. Aftermath, the silence that changed the galaxy in the weeks that followed. The Ghost Circle was officially disbanded. The Starforge cannon was melted into farming satellites. Entire fleets were decommissioned. Peace talks began not out of fear but out of reflection. Because for the first time, the galaxy wasn't afraid of what she might do. They were afraid of what they had already become. Where she went, rumors say she returned to Earth. Others say she walks among refugees, healing and teaching. Some believe she's watching the stars for something worse, but no one has seen her again, just stories, whispers, and the message she left behind. Carved in stone outside the old War Council chamber, the stars are not yours to rule, they are yours to protect. They thought the stats meant a nation, fallen, ships. Broken systems, changed minds. They thought no single being could do this until she said, that was just me. And they believed her. Because now, so did the stars.